Hey, everybody. We have an awesome lesson today, and it is going to be about self-confidence. And you're probably wondering what that has to do with weight loss, but it's actually hugely helpful. And I am going to be sharing my screen today. And well, actually, why don't we first just chat and then I will review by sharing my screen because I always get a little bit off track when I try to share my screen and talk at the same time. So we're on class 9. We're almost to the end of weight loss coaching, and the last class is next week. So what's going to happen is self-care is going to become huge for you. Part of self-care is having your own back, but not in an I don't care what you think kind of way. It's much more like what looks like love for me and for the other person right now. So let me give you an example. I do a model on my mind every day, and I also get coached once a week in my life coach school. And this is a huge part of self-care for me. Self-care used to feel more like just making sure that I exercised and willing to get up early to do prayer and scripture study. But now I do my model a day. I wake up in the morning and I do a model, the CTFAR, and I read something uplifting. And then I also write 10 things that I'm grateful for and why. I also do the voice memos that I told you that I'm kind of a crazy person. And it's just the things that I want to believe about myself in my life. And the things, even if I don't believe them right now, I want to believe them. And so I also do some physical exercises with weights for strengthening. And I'll walk or try to play pickleball every day. Sometimes it doesn't happen because if one thing is going to go, it's physical, not mental for me, because I have realized how important this has become in my life to make sure that I'm taking care of myself mentally. And it's more important to me, and it has a bigger impact on my day than even taking care of myself physically. So here are some of the models that I want to share with you, and just show you how this mental piece really does change everything. So the first one I'm going to show you is a circumstance that is people never pay me back for presents they say they're going to contribute to. And my thought is that's not fair. And I feel annoyed. And then my action line is I spin in my head about it and I think that they should be different and I judge them. And then my result is I have negative feelings about them. Now I can do an intentional model. I can have the exact same thing. It is that people never pay me back for presents they say they are going to contribute to. And then the thought is the reason we give presents is for others to feel our love. And my feeling is peace. And the action is not spinning in my thoughts about it, forgive, move on, and I'm fine with it. And the result is that I feel love for the people who said they were going to pay me and for the people I gave the gift to. And so those are the kind of models that really help. This is another one I had the other day. I had an event at my house the next night. And the thought is I haven't done enough to help. And the feeling was overwhelmed. And my action was I do nothing. Because a lot of times when we're feeling overwhelmed in any way, shape, or form, it's inaction is what it looks like. The result is I haven't done enough to help. So that same exact circumstance, I have an event here tomorrow night. My thought is I need to figure out what needs to be done tomorrow. My feeling is committed. The action is I clean the house and I text my friend and ask for the assignments of what I need to do. And I know what's going on. And then the result is I figure it out and I help. So just these little sneaky thoughts that we don't even know what we're thinking. If we do these mental exercises of doing a model on our brains, we start to see all these sneaky thoughts that are coming up for us. And we start to discover kind of what is the problem that we never understood. So I feel like this is going to be one of the most important classes that we've had. And the reason why we're going to talk about self-confidence is because it has everything to do with weight loss, I've discovered from all the coaching I've been doing and all the people that I have been talking to and my own work. So what is it and why does it matter? And one of the first things that I want to do before we start this class is to separate self-confidence from confidence. I promise you this has everything to do with weight loss. So how confident are you that you can drive a car? You'll probably feel pretty confident. You'll look to your past and you'll see that you have driven many places, right? And you have this ability to drive a car, and you have a lot of evidence to support the fact that you know how to drive. So self-confidence in the way that I want to teach you is not based on anything that you do. It's based internally, and it's based on your opinion and your ability to believe in yourself without any evidence, without any history of the thing that you're about to do and you really want to do. So let's imagine that's weight loss, okay? This is why self-confidence is that emotion of growth. It's the emotion that propels us into an ever increasingly amazing life. So when we're doubting ourselves and questioning ourselves, and we only rely on what we have confidence in, which is what we have done in our past, then, and it's all only what we've already created, then we are going to get stuck every single time. So where are you on a scale of 1 to 10? Grade yourself on self-confidence. And then you can grade yourself on confidence in your weight loss. So confidence would be what you have done in the past as far as weight loss. That's confidence. You can base it on your past. You know you've done this before. You know you can do it. But grade yourself on self-confidence and your opinion based on the evidence from your past is confidence, and your opinion based on what you and your ability in the future is self-confidence. So regardless of having any kind of skill set or any experience in that area, you can have self-confidence in an area. So if your opinion is based on the great things that you've done in your life, if you're giving yourself a 10 because you have done so many amazing things in your past, that's confidence. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's good. But that's not self-confidence. So let me explain a life-changing principle that I've learned. And this could change everything for your weight loss journey. I get my confidence, my self-confidence in my ability to feel any emotion. And let me explain that. Remember how we've talked about how the worst thing that can ever happen is a negative emotion? And think about the worst tragedy, someone dies, or the worst horror film that you're super scared, or the worst that could possibly happen. The reason why it's so bad is because of how we feel. We feel pain, we feel loss, we feel humiliation, we feel fear, we feel angst, and everything that happens in the world is neutral. Remember, like our weight on the scale, that's just neutral. And how we feel about it is what we're trying to avoid when we don't take action. So when you're willing to feel anything, when you're willing to embrace humiliation or terror or fear or disappointment or discouragement, then you have so much self-confidence that you can then move forward. So self-confidence is what propels us forward into action because we aren't afraid of any emotion. We aren't unwilling to feel. So imagine that you're going to start a new job and you have never done this job before, and you don't actually know from the past that you can do the job. What is the worst thing that might happen? Do you guys remember being a teenager and starting new jobs? The worst thing, probably humiliation, right? We don't do it well, we freeze, we mess up. We would be feeling embarrassed by the thoughts that we are thinking. So if I'm willing to experience the worst case scenario 10 times over, like I try this diet and it doesn't work and I get discouraged, and then I try this diet and it doesn't work and I get discouraged, then I get to go in there with so much self-confidence because I'm not afraid. What am I afraid of? People? What am I afraid of? No, the only thing you're afraid of is your own emotion. And there's no emotion that you're not willing to feel. So you're not afraid anymore. That's self-confidence. And this ability to have your own back is priceless. It looks like this. I'm going to have my own back no matter what. And this applies to weight loss as well. My favorite is to say, what does love look like for me in this situation? And as you mess up, which all of us will, you're not going to beat yourself up. I'll not make it mean terrible things about myself. I will not think thoughts that cause me suffering and pain. If I fail, the very worst part of failure is what I think about myself. So are you in? All you have to do is you have to just manage your thoughts you have about you. You need your own self-confidence in your weight loss journey. And if I'm telling myself I'm not good enough, I'm so bad at this, I'm a terrible person, I can't get this right, I am stupid, all of these things will block the feeling of self-confidence, and you will absolutely start feeling self-doubt. And self-doubt is the exact opposite of self-confidence. And you want tons of self-confidence if you want to try to lose weight. And so what this means is you might be nervous. And when you start trying to push that nervousness away and you resist that nervousness, you're going to make it even more awful, right? It's going to get worse. But when you're willing to feel anything and you manage your thoughts around it and you just say, oh, here's nervousness, it's part of this. Nervousness is just excitement without the breathing. So all I need to do is just breathe and I'm going to be totally fine here. I'm at this party and I want to eat that food. I may be just feeling nervousness or an urge. I can just allow it, and you move into that nervousness. You just open up to it and you breathe into it, and it's not so bad. And this is your ability to have your own back, your ability to trust yourself to manage your thoughts, your ability to trust yourself to be willing to feel anything, whether that's an urge or disappointment or frustration. And you'll know that if you mess up, it just means you're that much closer to doing it right. You know, you're not going to beat yourself up about it. Your fails don't mean anything unless you make them mean something. You're not going to go bury yourself in a pint of Haagen-Dazs. You know, you're going to allow yourself to feel, and there's no harm done in that situation. So that is what self-confidence is. And if you're always relying on confidence, which is what you've done in your past and the things you're good at and your accomplishments and all those things, you can only keep doing what you've always done. You can't do anything that you've never, ever done before. So remember what I told you about thinking the same thoughts you've always thought about weight loss. If you keep thinking those same thoughts, you will continue to be exactly where you are on this journey. And you can only be good at what you've always been good at. And you'll just keep being good at the things you've always been good at. But when you have self-confidence, you can actually be good at just being you. You can be good at learning and growing and failing. And this is so different and opposite than what we are taught growing up in school. In school, you do not fail. Make sure you get an A. That means you're succeeding and you're learning. In improving a marriage or weight loss or in anything that we want to do, we are shooting for an F. That means you're trying and you're practicing. And that is something that requires a lot of self-confidence, because if you get an F and you make it mean something about you, which most students do in school, then they start believing that they're not what? They're not smart, they're not capable, they can't do it. So all those fails pile up into this belief system that they're not smart and they're not good. But what if all those fails just meant you're doing it right? You just don't quite understand it yet. You just need to go on to the next thing and try the next thing. You need to try something different. You need to try a different protocol. You need to try a different thought. You need to study in a different way. What if that's what it meant? What if they made the test for every single person so nobody could get an A? I think that's what this life is. I think all of us came down here to mortality, and no one is going to get handed exactly how to succeed and get an A in every single thing. Everyone is just here to learn. So if I'm an A student, I would get a test that I can't possibly succeed in at all. And that would cause me to do what? If you really don't, you can't just succeed at it. That's when you are forced to grow, which is what this whole thing is. What if these weight issues were all part of your spiritual journey back to God and all the issues that you're struggling with in your mind and in your heart? When I get a test that I know all the answers to, I'm not growing. Do you see what I'm saying? I'm not asking anything of myself. I'm just memorizing what I was told to do. And I regurgitate all the correct answers back that I've learned how to do it. And then I succeed by succeeding, right? So self-confidence is that you think about yourself when you fail. How are you going to think about that? How do you feel about your weight as you're trying something new? And that will keep you moving in the direction that you want, or it will keep you stuck. And you don't have to know the hows of the whole thing. You just keep taking steps toward it. If everyone knew the hows of every single thing, then they would already have succeeded before they succeed. But the hows aren't important. It's just keep trying to do each step that you think is going to get you in what? Just the right direction of the weight loss that you want. So you don't have to know the hows of the whole thing. You just keep taking steps towards it. And I don't have a perfect map for you, and that's okay. There's no way to know exactly how your journey is going to go, and it's okay. So self-confidence will propel us, and it's this energy of excellence as we're in the process of failing yet again. So it's totally your mindset. And some of you will rely on confidence for your weight loss journey. And I can give you all the steps and I can give you everything you need to do. But without self-confidence, it really doesn't matter. You can't just rely on confidence in me and what I'm teaching you, because if you rely on confidence in me, you're not going to be willing to fail for you. You have to be willing to fail for you. And this experience is all about digging into deeper parts, like the very deepest part of you, and finding out who you are in this new way. I can't give it to you. Nobody can. It means shedding an old identity, something you've been hanging on to, that bag of false beliefs that you've had for so long. And you have to bring on this new identity, which is awful. Can I please tell you, remember the box cutter and the false beliefs that we're slicing? It sometimes feels like you're slicing into your soul at times, because long held beliefs are so hard to change, but it's possible. It's totally possible. So let's talk a little bit about self-doubt, because these are the thoughts that create the opposite of self-confidence. And I don't know how, or I've never done it before, or I'm not talented or experienced enough, or I'm not good enough, or this is too hard for me. If you have those thoughts, they sound very innocent. And I don't know how, I'm confused, I need help. But it just seems like a C, doesn't it? Like it's just a fact. It seems like you're just telling me the news. But when you think these thoughts, and you may even have a different thought that generates a lot of self-doubt for you, it feels so real, doesn't it? To you, when you're doubting something, it feels important, because remember, it's your brain telling you it's dangerous out there. If you don't eat that, you're going to die. If you don't know how to do something, you're probably not going to make it. You probably shouldn't do it. If you don't know how to keep yourself safe and protected, you should just stay in the cave, right? That's our primitive brain. And then you try the process and you lose that confidence, because of course you're going to fail at it the first time. Every single one of us has. And then you think, this doesn't work. I tried this formula you gave me, Shari, and that you gave me, it didn't add up. And because I didn't rely on my confidence in you, I can't rely on you in this process. I'm out. I'm going to quit. I'm going to go look for another process that I can have confidence in. And what I believe is, I think you have to earn your ability to have a successful and happy weight loss experience. You have to show up and you have to take action, and you have to, it has to come from a place of self-confidence. So how about something like, I don't know how to do this, but I can figure anything out. That's coming from self-confidence. Figuring out how to do things usually requires a lot of failure. Look at Thomas Edison. Look at all these amazing people who've done crazy, awesome things and made inventions, and Einstein. And I mean, just look at Shakespeare. Look at all of our best composers. They all had to figure out a lot of failure before they figured out how to do it right. And so will you. It's just the laws of the universe, seriously. So that's where that energy can come from when you're trying to generate energy. It can come from arrogance, which is the action of overconfidence. And that comes from a place actually of insecurity. But with self-confidence, it doesn't matter what happens. Everyone else can be better than you. Everyone else can lose more weight than you. Everybody else's bodies can look better than yours, and you still have self-confidence. You can fail 65 times on a diet, on different diets, and still have self-confidence. Nobody can knock you off your self-confidence pedestal, because self-confidence is generated from within. And for me, it comes from God spiritually. It doesn't have anything to do with other people. That's why it's the most powerful emotion in the world, because nobody can touch it. When you think about some of your spiritual things that nobody can touch, like your belief in God, it's because it's being generated from within. And when you're on a mission and you're telling a ton of people about God and they all laugh in your face and spit at you and throw food at you, you don't even care, because it's coming from within and you know that you've got this with God, right? So what is failure? This is so important. You should write this down. All it means is that you haven't yet met your own expectation. That's it. So you set an expectation and you don't meet it yet. What does that mean about you? Well, you can make it mean I'm a failure. I'm the worst. I can never do this. This is just who I am. No, it can actually mean nothing. It can mean you're learning. That's it. And if you think about a little kid that's learning to walk or anything else, they are taking steps and falling and falling, and you're like, oh, come on, get up, you've got this. And you would never say that to them, right? But as adults in this process of all this concentrated food and this crazy culture of you should be able to eat anything you want and stay as thin as you want. If we aren't perfect at it, we feel like there's something seriously wrong with us. But that's only because of what we're making it mean. If you make it mean nothing, it means you're learning. That's it. And what does it mean in general? It just means that you're human and it's part of the process. And what does it mean about you that you're learning, that you're ready to do the next try, that you're open to experiencing a negative emotion? So here's the thing, and this is how it works. I have self-confidence. I'm willing to experience anything, and I'm going to prove it. So now, after all we've talked about, where are you on a scale of 1 to 10 in self-confidence? Because where is it coming from? It's just coming from within you, and nobody can touch it if you decide. So if you're at a 5, what do you need to do more to get up to a 10? Where do you think you are? Guess what you get to do if you're at a 5 in self-confidence? You get to fail more. That's it. You do more, and you will actually succeed, and you'll build confidence at some point, which is the super fun part. And it will help propel you forward, but it's not necessary. You've actually got self-confidence right now if you want it, and you don't have to have any proof. So remember, where do we get self-confidence that can never be taken away from us? Within us. It's literally not in any abilities or anything outside of us. We just keep taking actions until we start seeing the results that we want. You're going to fail, and it's good news. Failure is just an opportunity to increase your self-confidence, because you keep believing in yourself no matter what. That is true self-confidence. It can't be taken away from you. In life coaching, they teach us this concept of the dare of the day, and you keep believing in yourself no matter what. And you go out every day and you try to do something that you literally are most likely to fail, or you ask something that people are going to say no. You literally do it to practice failing. And your willingness to do this impossible thing personally and in your weight loss is what creates self-confidence within you. You do your thing you're most afraid of and fail, and you make it through, and you put yourself in harm's way, and you survive some painful emotions, and you know how to feel those now, so you can do it. And then you use others' success to propel you towards your own success, instead of using others' success as, oh, this is another opportunity to beat myself up because they're doing it and I can't. It's more like, if they can do it, why can't I? Why not me? Right? And I know that you may be thinking, well, you're not me, and or that you're not that person, and that's not your story. And her story is made up of unicorns and rainbows and all of those things. But the fact is that we're all exactly the same. If I could learn these principles and practice them and fail at them all a ton, so can you. We can all keep failing over and over again until we get it right. Because at the end of all the failure is the success. And what if this class really isn't about weight loss? What if Heavenly Father doesn't care if you lose weight and loves you exactly the same either way? What if this is more about how you don't live up to your divine potential because of the weight or the marriage or the children's behavior or the self-doubt or the self-criticism or the anxiety? What if these things are always holding you back from your most important purposes on this earth? What if this work isn't so much about weight loss? What if it's about becoming more like our Savior? And my personal experience has been that this work resonated with me on this deep level and helped me to see more clearly who I am, who others are, and then what I meant to feel about them, what I meant to feel about me. And it's been rough. This is this river of misery that you go through to get from the now to the future, but it's super worth it. And so let me share with you this slideshow that we're just going to review what I said. And I would love for any comments or discussion on this. So if you feel like any of this is not true or doesn't resonate, or you're confused, or you just have thoughts that maybe it's a different way to think about things, then definitely share it. So you guys that are here, just unmute if you have anything to say. I would love to hear your thoughts. So this first slide is the 4 things that you have to be willing to do to learn and grow and fail. And what it looks like is you have to be willing to feel any emotion. The second one is you have to have the ability to have your own back. So in the case of my friend who went on a work trip with all of these men and they wanted to go get ice cream, and she was just going to pretend like she didn't want ice cream so it wouldn't be awkward. And she decided, what does love look like for me and for them? And she just was very honest and said, I would love to eat ice cream and I want to spend time with you and connect with you. But I mean, I don't want to eat ice cream, but I want to come and just hang out and be part. And that's what love looked like for her and for them. And she said it worked out great. So that was having her own back. And then what about 3, the ability to manage your thoughts about you? So this is where you try very, very hard to not make it mean negative things about you when you fail, because you're going to fail, as we all have. And then 4 is your ability to trust yourself. And if you can have those 4 things, those are the keys. Those are the keys to all of it in every area of your life, not just weight loss. So what's the opposite of self-confidence? It's always going to be self-doubt. So that's important. When you're feeling self-doubt and all of those negative emotions that go with it, that is telling your brain something. What thoughts am I thinking? I'm definitely not feeling confident about this weight loss journey at all. What are my thoughts? It could be something as simple as I want that. It'd be these sneaky little thoughts. Just, I want that right now. And then you feel an urge and self-doubt starts to creep in. Like, I don't think I've got this. So just know when you're not feeling confident, you're feeling self-doubt about this journey. And why does this matter? It's because the self-confidence is what will propel you into all the actions that you want and the energy to create what you want. So when you're sitting in self-doubt and all those emotions, you are not going to be taking the right actions, having the right energy to create this that you want. So if you rely on confidence, which is all of the outward things that you're already awesome at, you're never going to make it. You have to rely on yourself. You have to dig into the deepest part of you, and self-confidence. The best part about it is it never fails you. A lot of times you'll hear things like, when people don't win, they will say things like, that wasn't fair, or they'll start that's speaking from confidence because they thought that they had it in the bag because of their confidence, right? They wanted to win. They thought they would win. They're super mad about it. That's not coming from self-confidence, because from self-confidence, the most important thing we know now is that you can fail and you're exactly the same spot as you were before. Nothing's gone wrong and you're doing just fine. So how do you generate self-confidence? You have to be all in to feel any emotion. And then you can fall on your face in front of everyone and it's fine. And you literally have to think amazing thoughts about yourself. That's what self-confidence looks like. It's failure, it's feeling negative emotion, and it's still continuing to think good things about yourself. So self-doubt is the opposite. And this is what you'll be thinking when you're feeling self-doubt. I don't know how. I've never done it before. I'm not talented or experienced enough in this. I'm not good enough. It's too hard. That person's better than me. That's what it looks like when you're in self-doubt. You don't want to be thinking those thoughts, not helpful at all. Okay, so self-confidence thoughts look like, I'm going to show up and take action. And the worst thing that can happen is just a negative emotion. And I can decide to believe what I want. And I believe in myself unconditionally. So if you think about Heavenly Father, he would be loving you unconditionally regardless. And he'd be believing in you no matter what. And he would want you to show up and take action. He'd want you to have not just faith, but also works. And just know the worst thing that could happen would be negative emotion. And you know how to do negative emotion now because we've learned that. So just know that self-confidence is the most awesome thing because no one can knock you off a pedestal of true self-confidence. There's nothing anyone can do or say that is going to completely derail you. And this is where I think I went ahead, but it's when you can get knocked off your pedestal is when it's coming from arrogance or confidence, where it's things like you cheated or that's not fair or this shouldn't have happened the way it did. That's when you're completely relying on yourself and your abilities and external things to win. And that will always, that can really, you can crash and burn, right? We've all seen that. So best thing to have is self-confidence. Believe in yourself harder than anyone else on this planet. No one else can do this for you. You're the only one who can believe in yourself harder than anyone else. And guess what? It doesn't matter if one other person on the whole planet believes in you. If you believe in you, that's all that you need. That's it. So let's redefine failure again and reframe it. What is it? It just really is, just means you haven't met your expectations yet. And what does it mean? It means you're learning, and it's part of this human process. So just be open to it. It's an opportunity to increase self-confidence. And honestly, it looks like this: fail, 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 and then you succeed. That's what it looks like. So your self-confidence can always be a 10 in your life, in your marriage, in your job, because where's it coming from? It's coming from within you, and it always works, and it's never going to let you down. And it's fun. And this is when you become this version of yourself that's fun and attractive and authentic. And you don't care if people, are weirded out that you don't want to eat ice cream when they're eating it. You're just like, yeah, I'm doing this thing and I'm really happy about my progress. And I would love to come to lunch with you, but I'm going to need the light menu or whatever. You're just being yourself and you don't care about anything else that's going on because you know that you've got your own back, that you can feel any negative emotion and all the other things. You can manage your thoughts. So it's really, really an amazing place to be. So just know the most successful people, they fail the very most. So if you have no fear of failure, if you have no fear of negative emotion, if you have no fear of the worst case scenario, there's no rush. There's no crazy like dying to get there and to be there and to make sure that you prove it to yourself. It's just fine right where you're at. You're okay with it. And The crazy part is that with this mentality, you will eventually do it. You'll do what you're aiming to do, and someone will see you and they'll say, how did they do that? Right? Because they're in your spot. They're thinking it's impossible, and they won't have seen what? All the failures leading up to your victory, right? Did we see all of Thomas Edison's fails before he figured out how to produce electricity for all of us? We didn't see that. I can't even remember. I read the book with the kids at one point about his life, and he had failed hundreds and hundreds of times. But what does anyone ever remember about that guy? That he gave us this huge, amazing invention. And so once you're there, no one even cares about the fails. And like we talked about in some of our other discussions, when you're in the now, you feel so disempowered. But if you could get to your future place in your head that you're already the weight goal that you want to be, all the fails mean nothing to you. If you ate a cupcake when you shouldn't have, if you fell off the bandwagon on Mother's Day and ate too much chocolate, like that doesn't matter one bit. Nobody gives a care. When you are the weight that you're all they're going to say is, how did you do that? How are you that weight? I don't get it. They won't see any of the effort and time and self-confidence and fail that you did in order to get where you are. No one will see that. So they will just compare, and this is what we all do. We compare all of our lack of practice and all of our lack of failure to someone else's success. So we just look at them and we're like, oh, so this is how it is. They can do it, but I can't. They're a unicorn. They have tons of rainbows in their life, and I don't, right? So this will give them more reason to doubt themselves. And instead of a reason to be inspired that people are winning and they can inspire us, it's just, they get in this other mindset. So we just need to fail as much as we have to get where we want to go. And it means nothing about us unless we make it mean something. And my deepest wish with this work is that you realize you have 100% capacity. And that capacity looks like just feeling and failing till you get to the finish line. That's literally what it looks like. Just feel and fail, and then you're going to finish. And that's the order it is. So who can talk to me a little bit about this? We have like 5 minutes and I want to hear, I've been talking the entire time. So either Chrissy or Becky or Jen or somebody, tell me what your thoughts are on this. Are you guys unmuted or no?
I'm unmuted. Can you tell me what number 1 was before, like ability to have your own back and ability to?
Yeah. So I can go back. Let me go back to that slide.
That, and then I'll have a comment.
Yeah, I will go back to that. Okay, I just accidentally lost that one. Here it is. Where did it just go? I have it on my other notes too. Just let me pull those up.
Sorry.
No, you're good. But
while you're looking for that, I was just going to say that it reminded me that in the Tree of Life story, when they're get to the Tree of Life and they heed them not, they're able to succeed and have so much self-confidence that it doesn't matter to them what anybody else is saying. Is what I've got. Is just reminding, your teaching on self-confidence versus confidence is pretty profound. And just, every time we fail, we're just practicing to the goal, practicing for progress.
And don't we think of that with our kids, with everything they're doing? We never think of it as, oh, you are the biggest loser. What is wrong with you? But for ourselves, it's like the first thing that comes to our head is, what is wrong with me? And so I just looked it up and it says number 1 is a willingness to feel. So you're willing to feel any negative emotion and just get through it and allow it instead of all the other stuff.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have thoughts or comments? Chrissy or Jen? don't know if they're in a spot that they can talk.
Sorry, I have sick kids at home, so I just joined really late, so I don't really have anything to say because I missed some of it. So sorry.
Oh, okay, that's all right, Jen.
Sorry.
I will send you the recording.
Okay,
And so you
thanks.
can see the rest of it since you missed a bunch, but glad
I
you,
was
sorry about the sick kids. What a bummer.
Thanks.
Chrissy, what's yours?
sorry. I was just thinking, I mean, a lot of what you said, I was just thinking I don't have very much confidence. And it was amazing to listen to how I can try and gain more, how I can help instill it more in my children, help them to see what they can do, to do things differently than I've done so far. And then I can gain it and I can get there if I want to, put in the effort and the work. And now I have a formula, and I can see the importance of it. And I can see how it can play out, how things can play out differently in my future if I can follow it.
So if you were going to teach your kids these concepts, what was the thing that stuck out to you? What do you think is the most important thing to be able to have through self-confidence?
Well, I mean, I need to listen to this a few times, but I guess one thing that just really stood out to me was when you said, believe in yourself more than anyone else. You be your biggest cheerleader, and I've heard that before, but I don't think it's affected me the way it did listening to all of this together, and I've always felt really strongly that I wanted to have kids that were that felt like they had self-esteem. They really like themselves. They think a lot of themselves, because I think that helps you in life. If you feel like you're a good person, if you feel like you're good at things, I think everyone, every mom wants that for her kids, but this is kind of a different take, a different twist on it,
Yeah,
and
I wonder if the best way to do that is to make sure that they know failure is fine. Because when Tessa tried out for cheerleading her senior year, the very last day before she was supposed to find out if she got it or not, she had tons of self-doubt, and I didn't know this work. And she said, I'm going to quit. I'm too embarrassed to see if I make it or not tomorrow. And she didn't go the last day. And the cheerleading coach came up to her the next day and said, why didn't you show up? You were already on the list. You were a cheerleader. So her senior year, she sat in the stands while every single one of her friends was a cheerleader, but her. And all she had to do was feel negative emotion. She wasn't willing to feel disappointed or embarrassment or something if she didn't get on that cheerleading squad, right? And if she would have had the ability to have her own back, and if I could have taught her these principles of, it doesn't matter if you don't make it, the fact that you tried is what actually matters. And then also to be able to manage her own thoughts about herself and not make it mean, oh, you're a failure. Oh, you're such a loser that you didn't make the cheerleading team. Oh, you are the only one that didn't make it, or, all of those thoughts. And if she would have just had the ability to trust herself and just show up that last day, do her best, and know that failure didn't mean what both she and I were making it mean about her, and how embarrassing that would be, and how it would be super uncomfortable, she could have had a completely different senior year. Her experience could have been completely different, but I didn't know this work. And I've never thought about it as failing is awesome. Who thinks about that? We are taught failure is the worst. Like, it shows how lame you are, right?
well, I love that you said that the people that are the most successful in life are the ones who have failed the most. That was another thing that really stood out to me, because if you view it that way, the more fails you have, the more success you're going to have. So go for it. Come and get me.
Yeah. And there's actually no other way to it. Like I said at the very end, like, everyone thinks they just see the success. Oh, that person lost 50 pounds. So they are amazing. They have unicorns in their life, and they have rainbows, and they have all this crazy stuff. And I don't have any of those things. I'm nothing like them. But the fact is, you're exactly like them. They've just had a million failures. They've worked their heads off, and they've gotten through all of this stuff we're trying to work on right now, managing their minds and trusting themselves and having their own backs and being willing to feel some really awful emotions to get that rid of the 50 pounds. It wasn't just like, oh, look at her. She just has a way better, easier time than I do. We all feel that, don't we? Like it must have been easier for them because this is way too hard for me. So I guess our time is up, guys, but just know that these are principles. I think they've actually changed everything for me, because even being willing to like do life coach school, and I literally would do these classes and be like, I have to be willing to fail. I have to be able to have the PowerPoint not work. I have to look stupid in front of everyone. But that is the currency to my dreams, to try to help people with this work. Do you know what I mean? Like in so many ways, this isn't just about weight loss coaching. It's about all the dreams or the things that Heavenly Father wants you to do in this life. And this stuff holds us back. If we're not willing to just put ourselves out there, maybe be embarrassed or all the other things, we won't ever live up to our divine potential and do the purposes in this life that Heavenly Father has like for us to do. So anyway, that's today. And we will see you next week for our last class, guys.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Shar.
Shari.